Stop jumping on me. Why are you doing that?
Having a bad dog day?
Rex, come back here.
From police dogs to pet dogs, from potty training to pet peeves, #1 best-selling author and 30-year canine trainer Andy Falco knows how to get to the meat of what's eating your dog. This is Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect.
What a good boy. Good heel, Rex. I love you, Rex.
And now here's your host, Andy Falco.
Thank you, Christopher. Hey, gang, this is Andy over at the Train the Dog Trainer podcast, and I'm glad to be back with you after a little summer break. And we'll be hitting some stuff new here, some things that will be, I hope, very exciting for you to hear. Some things will help you move forward in your dog training business and your maybe your career or your dog training hobby, whatever that may be. So what I'm going to be talking about is some things that I've I constantly have these experiences, but, when you have them over and over again, sometimes they become normal, but you start to put a little focus on them when you have a show like this or a podcast like this. And so I've noticed lately that again, I'm not saying this as if it's brand new information to you or myself, but it's the human is so unique and different and difficult and all of those things. And I just kind of sit back and laugh because I've become ultra aware of how great dogs are, and the humans not so much. I know. I'm not being bad, but I'm trying not to be bad, but it's just the way that it is. And you can sit there and gosh, I'm going to go in so many directions here, but I'm going to try to focus. But first, what I want to make sure, we have a new sponsor, a sponsor that if you've been following us on our Facebook page, you know that I've been really into the CBD oil lately because it's just changed my life so dramatically. Physically, I wish I would have tried it sooner. It's one of those things that I did not try as a police officer. I had these beliefs and the myth about CBD oil that it had something to do with marijuana, and really it doesn't. And it's legal and all the things that I was afraid of, and tried it, and it's changed my life. I sleep better, my blood pressure's better. But in relationship to dogs, giving it to a dog that's healthy is fantastic. You should do that. It should be a dietary supplement for every dog. Number 2, if your dog has issues with fear, anxiety, those types of things, it's a great reliever of those things. And if your dog has discomfort from inflammation, again, another great source of healing for a dog. So I represent Today's CBD Oil, our sponsor in these broadcasts now, and so go ahead and go to todayscbdoil.com. You'll learn some new stuff. We have information both for humans and for dogs on there, and you can get a free white paper just by clicking the button. I think it's a red button. You click on that, you get a free white paper. Then the green button, when you're ready to order, just click on the green button. That'll take you to the website where you can order. All right, todayscbdoil.com. All right, so I just wanted to take a moment here. This won't be a very long podcast. This will probably be one of the shorter ones. But I wanted to come on because, like you, we have so much fun training the dogs. We have so much, especially those of you that have a lot of experience, you can make changes in dogs very quickly because you develop a sixth sense. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't say that today. Sixth sense about, what needs to be done, how to do it, no matter what the breed is, no matter what sex it is, no matter how strong or how weak or big or small the dog is. You can, over time, and you may not have it yet. If you're brand new to dog training, you won't have it yet, but understand that just keep going. Just keep doing it. Keep experiencing new dogs, that kind of stuff. Pretty soon, you'll get a feel right away for what the dog that's before you needs for advancement in either fixing their bad behavior or just advancing on good behavior or just helping a dog through some issues it may be going through. You'll begin to recognize quickly. And in some cases, as you get more experience, you won't even be able to even explain how but you'll just begin to know. And that is a beautiful place to be. And it becomes so easy. And you say, well, just do this and watch this. And if you just are consistent and if you just are black and white in what it is you're expecting from the dog as opposed to being gray. All of the things that we try to explain to human beings, and we do them and we show them, we see great results in the dogs. These things can happen very quickly. And then we hand the dog over, right? We hand the dog right over, just to hand the leash from your hand to their hand. They grab the leash and suddenly the dog goes, ah, is all over them, pulling them, dragging them down, doing none of the things the dog does for you. And you say, okay, listen. Follow my lead. Let me just talk to you about what it is you need to do. No, you don't need to put a sharpened pinch collar on your dog. No, you don't need more electricity. No, you don't need to do a whole bunch of these harsh things to get your dog to listen. And I've seen people that kick their dogs, punch their dogs, throw stuff at their dogs, do the pennies in a can and then throw the pennies that are in the can at the dog, and so on and so forth. No, you don't need to do that. You need to be consistent. You need to be black and white. You need to make sure that everybody in your family follows the same rules, are black and white, that they follow the plan, that they have the strong rules and boundaries that no, the dog cannot do that. No, he just can't. Well, can he do it when I'm wearing dirty clothes? Is it okay if the dog jumps on me when I'm wearing... No. Well, is it okay... I want the dog to lick me in the face all the time. And, I know that sometimes I end up bleeding and that. No, you can't. Not now. Maybe later. Right? No. Well, I've tried all these things and it's just not working for me. Well, you're not trying it consistent. There's something wrong, right? You're not trying it consistently enough. Are at night when you're tired, do you not follow through with what needs to be done with your dog? When you're in a hurry, do you not make your dog sit before you give him permission to eat? No, he just jumps on me and I just put it down. I just got so tired of him jumping on me. So I just put, okay, so this is what we're talking about, especially when we're talking about problematic dogs. We're not talking about dogs that are just ho-hum dogs that are, for the most part, just out of the womb. They sit, they down, they stay. They don't jump on people. They don't sniff people in the crotch. For whatever reason, those dogs just don't do that. We're not talking about that kind of dog, right? I'm talking about dogs that come to you. People that come, not the dogs don't come to you. They don't get in the car and drive their human there, although I bet you some of them would. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the dogs that we get, that if we don't help this human being with their dog, the dog could be homeless. The dog could be sent to a shelter. The dog could be sent to a rescue. The dog could be sent to Uncle George, who's really harsh on dogs, and he knows what to do with these kind of dogs, right? We as much as sometimes we even hate for the human to be, or the dog to be with the human they're with, we often believe that if we can just get the human to understand consistency, black and white, rules and boundaries, high expectations. It's okay to have high expectations. I know the dog had a rough life. I know the dog was starved as a puppy. I know all those things, but that doesn't mean that you coddle the dog and let the dog get away with stuff and then get angry at the dog, so angry at the dog that you kick the dog when he doesn't listen. How is that helping this dog who had a rough life, right? How is it fair to that dog that you're saying had this rough life and you coddle him and are so afraid to correct him, but yet he's going to run down the street and get hit by a car, that he knocks down a child and you get so mad that you throw a dog across the room? How is that fair? Right? So now you're asking me, well, Andy, how do I deal with that kind of person? Well, I think just in this broadcast, what I need to first talk about, because we'll come back in a couple more broadcasts here, and I'll just cover some of the things that I do with my humans and what I do with them. But what I first want to talk about in this broadcast is first acknowledge that this is happening, and I acknowledge this is happening to you, and I know that it's frustrating. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it will. You'll get a human being that has a great dog, right? I have an owner right now, a handler that has a dog that we trained for narcotics. And the dog really is a great dog. It's got a ton of energy. And she's super strong and super crazy. But I could have my 10-year-old walker and the dog doesn't pull her over. On a flat collar, by the way. She can walk her down the street at a heel position and then stop and the dog sits automatically. But you give it to the human who's much bigger than my 10-year-old, much stronger, yells and screams a lot, right? And the dog acts like a maniac, right? So I have this customer currently where I have a dog that is a great dog. It's perfect for what we need in detection work. It also when it was here for the 6 weeks that it was here, maybe 8 weeks that it was here, it understood the rules. It understood the boundaries. We were able to take the dog for walks around the block, and it saw other dogs, saw other people, and it sat and waited to be pet. It didn't pull on anybody's shirt and tear it, right? None of those things happen. So why, when we give that very same dog to this human, the human that loves the dog so much, but also has a love-hate relationship, right, and also hates the dog so much? Again, right? You've seen that before, right? You've seen somebody that loves their dog so much that it doesn't want to do these things, but also hates the dog so much that they just can't stand it, right? They can't stand the dog when people come over. They can't stand the dog when they go for a walk. They can't stand the dog when they're, want to, take the dog to Home Depot or Schlotsky's Deli, one of my favorite places to say, right? They hate the dog then, but yet they love the dog. And so I want to first, just in this podcast, as a trainer to trainer, that I understand what you're going through, that this is going to happen if it's not happened yet, and you need to accept it first. And that is one of the things, right? What ends up happening quite often, and I'm pretty sure that I've talked about this before in past broadcasts with Cameron probably, and she's probably brought it up too, that, we just have these people that just make our life difficult, but they're the ones who write the checks, right? They're the ones who bring the dogs to us. They're the ones who refer other customers to us. And so it really is important that we first acknowledge that we're going to have these people, right? We don't need to keep them all as customers. We can fire them as customers. We can get rid of them. But at some point, we're going to have to learn how to work with the human beings that sometimes may be difficult. Because I got to tell you right now, almost every dog that comes to us, except for a few dogs here and there, are fairly simple to work with. They're easy. We understand that this dog had issues. We understand this pit bull has nearly killed another dog. We understand this German Shepherd that's bit the neighbor and knocked them down. But when we get them, we go, this isn't a bad dog. And we see results really quickly. Why? Because we have experience, because our timing is good, because we know what tool to use, we know how to use the tool correctly, so it doesn't make our problems worse. We know those things. And here we have a human being who has no interest of really learning to be a dog trainer. They may say they do, but they really don't have the patience. They don't have the time. They want to believe what they know already is good enough, right? You give them stuff. Oh, I already know that. Okay, well then how about doing it? Well, yes, I do that. Well, why don't you try? I've done that, right? Those are always the answers that you get. So in the next few episodes, we're going to talk about how do you break through some of those things, and that that there's going to be some moments again where you're going to have to make a choice. All right, am I going to continue with this human who has every excuse in the book, or do I learn to work with people that are like that and have breakthroughs with people like that? And I think that will soon be the thing that fuels you, that you will become now, okay, I'm gonna have a breakthrough with this person, right? As long as they're paying you, they're not a pain in the ass as far as not paying you, that you have to ask them for the money. You get paid in advance. As long as they're doing that, right? You want that. As long as they're not a pain in the butt calling you every, hour. Oh, my dog did this. Oh, my dog did this. And they call you out. They're calling you all day long. As long as they're not them, right? Those people are a pain in the ass and almost too much. It's almost too much work for the money that you're getting. So you're going to fire those people. But if you have other people that, that are paying, they come to training, but yet they still have excuses. I think as time goes on, you're going to learn to have growth through those people personally, that you're going to go, I'm going to have a breakthrough with this person. I'm going to figure out how they work, right? I'm going to figure out what type of personality they are and how to work with that kind of personality. And I'm hopefully going to give you some ideas in the next few podcasts on how to do that. And so I want you to just to determine where your lines are. All right. So first, realize that you're going to have PETA people, pain in the ass, PETA people. You're going to have PETA people in your life that you're going to have a line that you draw and say, okay, this is the line, and anything beyond that line, I fire them. I refer them to another trainer. All right. That's where my line is. You're going to have to figure out what that is. It may not be a very steadfast line. It may not be a line that you can actually write down and and at this time and define. It may not be that kind of line, but you at least have a kind of an idea. At what point do you begin to fire people? One of those things, obviously, is not getting paid, right? No, you're going to fire them. That you have to bug them, and you have to send them reminder emails. Hey, your bill is due. That kind of. Those people get fired right away. All right. People that are crappy to you and cuss at you, fire them right away. All right. So those people you're going to get rid of because you don't want to make your life more difficult than it already is. You want to enjoy your work. You want to be able to go to sleep at night without thinking, oh, that guy's such an ass. Right? That guy, oh, what a pain, right? Or they're going to, that dog deserves better, right? Those are the things that keep you up at night. You're going to have to learn to find that line with those people you're going to fire. All right. Once you have that line, you're going to now begin to determine, how do I work with people that are within that line? And one of those things I want you to do truly is go online and understand all the different types of personality traits, all the different kinds of personalities. I've done this several times with many trainers, and you just go online and you type in personality traits or types of personalities and learn them. And you may discover something new. If you've not done this before, many of you have taken college courses on psychology or psychiatry, probably psychology, not psychiatry. I think that's after you're going for your doctorate. But you've taken classes on that kind of stuff. And you probably can go into a box somewhere and find your old book somewhere. But you would also just do a Google search and understand the different types of personalities. And understand that how those personalities, as time goes on, we're going to talk about how those personalities either mix well with a certain personality of a dog or like oil and water, or like a match and gasoline is probably better. All right. So your task from this point on, at least for the time being, is to really begin to research human behavior and look it up, Google it, and just become a student of human behavior. I know this is a dog training podcast, right? A dog training podcast, and you're saying, well, you're telling me to learn. Well, that's because with every dog comes a human. All right. So it's going to be very necessarily for you to learn about personality traits. So I want you to do that. All right. There's a couple books I want you to read. And one of them is called Anatomy of Peace. That's actually the second book I want you to read. And the first one before that is called, I don't know why I'm having a brain. I had it written down and now I can't find my note. Anatomy of Peace. And the other one, hold on, where did it go? Is called hold on, I should get something that shows me what the other one is. Oh, because they're written by the same team of people, same group. Some of you right now are yelling at your radio or your smartphone saying, it's blah, blah, blah. And I cannot find it right now. Hold on. Anatomy of Peace. So definitely get Anatomy of Peace. That's for sure. Hold on. The other book is called Leadership and Self-Deception. Wow. I don't know why I was having a brain fart. So Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. Arbinger Institute. They wrote both books. All right. So Leadership and Self-Deception. Number one, you're going to read that book. It's fantastic. You're going to thank me for recommending it if you haven't read it already. Leadership and Self-Deception is one, and the other one is Anatomy of Peace. Those are two really important books I want you to read. And then a third one is called Well Done. Well Done. And that is written by, hold on. And I may have mentioned these before in other things that I've done on our Facebook page. That's written by Ken Blanchard. Oh, of course. It's written by Ken Blanchard. So Well Done. So those are three books. These have to do with human stuff, human relationships. The Power of Positive Relationships is the subtitle for Well Done. And then the Anatomy of Peace and Leadership and Self-Deception are beautiful books about how people blame other people, right? And this is kind of where you're going to get, if you're a dog trainer, that they're going to begin to blame you for their problems with their dogs. And I think this is it's one of all three of these books changed my way of thinking when it came to dealing with people. I read them as a police officer. I read them when I began to train police officers, and I found them very important to understand as I went into a kind of a leadership position as the lead trainer or the department trainer for the Anaheim Police Department, and on occasion I'd be the supervisor for the K-9 unit. And all three of those books made a huge difference in how I dealt with them. And so being able to deal with police K-9 handlers really helped me understand how to deal with the pet dog customer. All right, so again, the purpose of this podcast on dealing with customers has to first acknowledge the fact that you are going to have people in your life that come to you as customers that you just, they just challenge you, right? And you see this dog who has so much potential, and you're going, oh, this dog can be so good. This dog, oh, if I could just get this human on board with what needs to be done for this dog, they will appreciate their dog that much more. They will take their dog to places they never thought they could take him before. They will get more out of this dog if they could just understand the dog and why it is that they're jacking the dog up, right? They're actually creating the negative energy. They're creating the bad behavior. They're creating the things that causes the dog to bite. They're creating the things that cause the dog to bite somebody's shirt and tear it off their body. Right? They are part of the problem. Now, no doubt the dog has those problems in their blood, right? They have some things that are in them that make them who they are, but it's the human being they're attached to that really brings it out, right? That really causes it to boil over and make it a truly horrible, bad behavior. Right, so we really need to address these things, and in the future podcasts from the Train the Dog Trainer podcast are going to begin to address some of these things in regard to the human. Again, I know that we've talked about humans that we have to deal with on many issues in these podcasts, but I want to come and now kind of specifically talk about now where those lines are. Like I just talked about before, you're going to find out where your lines are. You're going to study the different personality traits online. And all the things that are associated with those things. You're going to begin to look at how there can be conflict between some of these personalities and the personalities of certain dogs. And I'm going to talk about something that I wrote a very, very long time ago, maybe about 20 years ago. And I gave dogs a color, red, blue, and green, and humans red, blue, and green. And I began to mix those colors, right? You put a red dog with a blue handler and what kind of problems you might have, and a blue dog with a red handler, what kind of problems you have, and we're going to talk about that further. So I'm going to come right out of one of my books that I wrote many years ago, and talk about that. It never took off like I thought it would. I thought it'd be like this will be the new thing, but I still use it kind of in my head, but I never really sold it as being this is a way that people in the dog training business should think. But it really clarifies, like when you, and I've had handlers that to this day, it's probably 20 years later, a couple of handlers, they'll send me a text or a message. Hey, I saw this couple the other day. You should have seen this dog. That dog definitely was a red dog, and the man was blue, and the woman was green. And you can see as the dog was with each one of those person how that worked. And they know it because I taught it pretty extensively for a little while. Again, it never really took off and kind of didn't go global, but it's one of those things that every so often I'll get reminded about. But we're going to talk about in the next few podcasts, and there you go. So if you haven't noticed, I'm single again. Cameron has a whole bunch of stuff going on. She's on her way to Australia, a whole bunch of other stuff. Our timing just really made it difficult to us to continue to partner up on these podcasts. She's doing great. She's fantastic. All those things. So don't think anything weird happened. It's just that our schedules, more than anything else, just did not mesh. And so you got me solo for a little bit. And we'll see what happens in the near future. I got a few other things on board that have been keeping me really busy. I had an audition for some stuff coming up, and we'll see if it comes to fruition or not, and we'll see what happens with that. But for the time being, I'm going to be coming back and doing these podcasts for you, and we're going to be currently talking about the personality traits that you're going to be dealing with as a dog trainer in regard to the human, and I'm going to be bringing back my old blue, red, and green dog and human scenarios, and talk about that just a little bit more, and hopefully that'll help you. And I think part of it is just knowing ahead of time what you got, and then figuring out how you're going to address it. Because so often we just get the dog, we go, oh, I can train that dog to do this, yeah, and it worked, right? It's just like the customer I was talking about, the German Shepherd narcotics dog that I was just training. Yeah, I can train it. The dog finds narcotics like nobody's business. She's fantastic. She almost looks like a veteran dog, and she's only been doing it for I don't know, 4 months. And she already looks like a veteran dog. But the problems that we're dealing with have nothing to do with narcotics. It has everything to do with the relationship between the human and the dog and what's happening with them and the frustration the handler has with the dog. So this, I think, will be a very important period of time for our Train the Dog Trainer podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure and comment, and wherever you can, whenever you see this, to comment on what you thought, any questions you might have, and we will see you, in future broadcasts. I'll be more than happy to bring up your question or your thought, and we'll talk about that in a future podcast. All right. So don't forget to go to today'scbdoil.com. Today'scbdoil.com. That's who we're sponsored by now. As we move forward for the next several podcasts, that's who our sponsor is going to be. And there you go. All right. So I'm hoping you're having a great day. And I hope the next few podcasts will help you dealing with humans in dog training. All right. That's it for me. I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Falco Canine Dog Talk, the show that helps you and your dog create a relationship of love and respect. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address at www.falcocanineacademy.com and like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Falco Canine Academy. Follow us on twitter.com/Falco Canine Academy and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Falco143. And remember, if you've got questions for Andy, call the Canine line at 714-798-9961. That's 714-798-9961. This is a production of Falco Enterprises Incorporated. All rights reserved.